Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream of the Platformers. Today, we have a very special episode with Hasith Kalpage, Director of Platform Engineering at Cisco. And leading the conversation is our friend Carlos Santana, Solution Architect for EKS at AWS and a CNCF Ambassador. So, without further ado, happy to be here, and I'll let you guys get started, and I'll go and wait backstage.
Backstage, we just came back from KubeCon. Was busy. I saw Audi there. So yes, I'm back. Like if you don't have seen any of the previous live streams, my name is Carlos Santana. I'm a CNCF ambassador. I also work on EKS and also work with Canoe. It's a open source project around platform engineering where I met Hasith. And Hasith, tell just a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Hasith, and I'm currently Platform Engineering Director for Outshift by Cisco, which is the innovation accelerator of the tech giant. So I look after all things platform engineering. In addition to that, I also have the responsibility of the Chief Information Security Officer.
And Cisco is it's a large corporation, right? Some folks know Cisco from their Cisco switches or their certifications. Probably that there's a lot of networking folks watching us live now, but also WebEx, right? I think you have worked in Cisco for a while and have done many roles in there. I heard that you also dealt with WebEx and their systems.
Yeah, so in Cisco, I have been in Cisco for about 15 years. At WebEx, particularly during the pandemic, I led the introduction of Kubernetes and COVID response, on which we not only drove the cloud-native transformation, but also consolidated a lot of platforms to use cloud-native technologies and scale it up to thousands of developers, hundreds of clusters.
So that's your experience with Kubernetes. So interesting, the pandemic. So it looks like during the pandemic, WebEx was using Kubernetes at scale.
It wasn't actually. So in fact, back in 2020 February, we had 0 Kubernetes clusters.
Interesting.
And 2020 May had about 50, 60. And then subsequent years, the numbers grew quite rapidly. And funny thing is, nobody asked during the COVID response you need to change the technology or introduce Kubernetes. It was very much driven by the need and what cloud native technologies could bring. The high level assignment I had from my leadership at the time was we really need to scale very rapidly at scale. So move private cloud infrastructure, a portion of private cloud infrastructure to public cloud, and then bring it back. So during that assignment is when new technology was introduced. It was a very interesting time for sure.
Introducing Kubernetes, running Kubernetes on production is not the same as introducing Kubernetes to the org, but it's running Kubernetes for production systems, right? Something that I guess you assume that you get a lot of learnings about running teams, right? You're in the leadership position, so you are like enabling teams to be able to achieve what they want to do at scale using Kubernetes.
Correct, and there are a lot of challenges there. Like, I mean, if I speak about that time, so during COVID response, there was a lot of things that had to scale, and I had a team of about 15, and then that number almost grew 10x within a span of about 8 months, like through consolidations and other things that happened within the organization. While going through that, scaling organizationally, we had to also consolidate a lot of different systems, introduce new technologies, and navigate through that transformation. And the funny thing is, back in February 2020, we had so many issues. Although we had a working setup, there was kernel-related issues with performance, and it was a change that was happening. So it wasn't just Kubernetes. Obviously, you were introducing Kubernetes, which was different from previously, more Docker-based
Docker
workloads,
without Kubernetes.
Or yeah. So it was an interesting challenge. I mean, main thing is, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like,
was an
all this was happening, like developers. The developers didn't scream. How many developers were you enabling?
It was literally hundreds and then thousands. So we had a few thousand developers using the platform within a span of about 2.5 years. Yeah,
impressive. Yeah, a lot of companies take more than that to enable teams. So let's move a little bit to your new role in this new organization. So it looks like you had that experience with building Kubernetes, an ecosystem, enabling thousands of developers, growing a team from 15 to 10x, and now you move into this new org where you are like taking you have to go through, like I say, you have to go through one generation of like a platform to get to the one that you actually like, because you get the learnings of what you did wrong back then. We didn't know what's going on, and then at the speed that cloud native is moving with the CNCF, is like, oh, we didn't have these tools back then. Or it could be like, oh, well, everyone was kind of like doing it inside, but no one was like writing a blog post. No one was like sharing their practices. And as in 2 or 3 years, you have collected like the knowledge from the ecosystem, the tools that have advanced, maybe cloud features that you're leveraging. And now you're in this new org of like looking with a new set of eyes of like, I'm going to take the good things and I'm going to not adopt new things on this new platform. Tell us a little bit about what's new on this new organization, and what's your role in this organization looking forward.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is, in life, whenever you get an opportunity to do something one more time, it's an opportunity to really evaluate, look at what else is happening, and really set new standards and push boundaries. So under the current opportunity, it's been great. We were in the accelerator. We had a SRE, site reliability engineering operating model. So that has been evolved into platform engineering because there are differences there in terms of allowing various teams to service. At the end of the day, you're an operational organization, so it's very important that you have mechanisms in place to handle servicing various internal customers you have, whilst allowing quality engineering work to happen. So what we have done there is introducing a service desk in order to handle all the incoming tasks and tickets where you can, and also pages where you deal with the high context switching work. And then, some members can do that. And then when you come back into backlog and feature work, you get the focus time needed in order to actually do quality engineering work. Most of the time, what happens with SRE and DevOps team is it's always, you're dealing with the fire hose and you're running around. Yep. And if you don't have that split, it's difficult to do that. So we have made that change and very much pushing towards how we can evolve platform engineering and do things in a very forward-looking way. I'll talk a bit more about it towards the middle of our conversation.
Yeah.
And have some
So
interesting things to show
I
as
think
well
that's a very
agentic platform engineering that we are doing. Yeah.
So I think that's a very good thing to for other platformers and organizations to look at, of like, there's this set of folks, right, that you have SRE that are like both in charge of runtime, right, running the system, handling new requests for new projects, changing database versions, right, doing upgrades. And if you just have them on the fire, on the service text, just handling tickets, right, they get burnt out and they don't have an opportunity to use their creative time, right, creative knowledge or skills to like innovate. They're at the end of the day, they're software engineers. They know software, they know cloud, they know networking, they're working with cloud systems. And if the only thing that they do is just solve problems for somebody else, either two things happen. I've seen they either get burned out, or they start tinkering or looking for another organization inside the company or outside to say like, I already did that for a while. Like, I'm solving these ticket problems, but I know I can invent or create something like actually the tickets don't get to me. Like, we can prevent these tickets. Like, that's the mentality that they start like talking to their family members, like another ticket that we could avoid, right? Another thing that we could automate, but I don't have the time to sit down to innovate, right? So your organization took that knowledge and saying like, no, we're going to give them time to get to service the tickets so they can know what are the issues are, right? But then rotate them, rotate them to a role for a while of like start working on the innovation creative part of like building a platform, like maybe preventing those tickets or automating those tickets efficiencies, right? So you reduce the number of like fires that are happening.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, definitely burnout is real, and main thing there is important thing is one shoe size doesn't fit everybody. So having seen different size of organizations, different individuals, so you have we need to tailor it based on who you have in the team. And also what the organization is trying to accomplish. So for example, if you have folks who enjoy more of the operational and servicing tasks, then we can create teams or structures around that to kind of deal with the service type ticketing functionality that's coming in, where you have folks who enjoy building and implementing things. It's important to give them to put a structure in place to give them that focus time needed in order to do quality engineering work. And the importance is where I think DevOps still come into play is if you strictly think about a software engineering team, you may not necessarily feel the pain of operating the platform or what is important. So for that, having a mix of the two, or at least having channels in which where you are actually forefront of the operational problems in order to automate it is important. So it's one size doesn't fit everybody, but it's something based on your organizational needs, different skill set and individuals in the team, and how it can be structured is something to think about.
It's amazing that you take this approach, because I've seen the flip side. I've seen the flip side of developers. I would not say developers, but software engineers just building the day one experience of like creating an abstraction in a platform to create, maybe let's take an example of a database, right? So a developer needs a database in different environments. So they create an abstraction of where like they can submit a form, the form creates the ticket gets automated, your database gets created. But the thing comes into light when it's day two operations, right? That person, since they only work of like day one, creating abstractions, creating the database, when it comes into like, well, the database cannot communicate, the app cannot communicate with the database. Well, there are different networks you have to allow, or they're using security group rules or firewalls, or the other aspect is when they want to upgrade or data the DR, do a backup and restore that database. How do you make that day two operations easy to the developer back again? That folks never been in tickets or fires, right? As an SRE, so they don't know what are the processes in the company to achieve that, and then what would it take to automate that part. So I think having both knowledge is critical to create a platform. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, it is challenging because what happens more often than not is people only think about day zero and day one, right? And especially, I'm in an incubation setting right now. So when you think about it, it's very easy to, because you always have something new to get done. So you actually automatically only think about that usually, right? So when you're thinking about platform engineering, you actually have to think about, okay, start with the end in mind, and focus day two aspects and bring that forward, right? I think in a funny way, I remember a book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One rule of thumb there is start with the end in mind, right? So you really need to think about prioritize day two, and think about how that's going to work, and make sure that you address or think about how iteratively you get there, because otherwise things don't scale. What happens is when you build up a lot of tech debt with half-baked solutions, things everything slows down, and that's where the value of platform engineering comes. Really, okay, fine, we need to get something done. So for example, particularly in the accelerator, we have to be super pragmatic about quick iterations, right? Go with a version 1 very quickly, but then the conversation is you don't forget about the end, and you make sure that you iterate, and as long provided it's a sensible thing to do, you iterate in order to get to the end that you intended, without compromising and forgetting about it, right? So it's not about you don't need to be slow. You can be very fast, but as long as you don't forget what your end outcome is. What happens to a lot of teams is that you forget what what the desired goal is, and then when you change directions very rapidly that way, you end up with a lot of tech debt and unmaintainable systems.
So moving into the innovation, sure, your innovation team, you somehow convince your stakeholders or your executive leadership to build this innovation or fund this innovation team to go through a lot of experimentation and iteration around platform engineering. So what are the type of things or like top projects that or goals or outcomes that you told this executive or stakeholders that they're going to get, and you can talk also if it's going to be like a short-term goal, or you're talking more about like let us innovate for a longer term goals on this platform space.
I think the main thing is it's always hard, right? So because the thing is platform is always expense, so it's not how to say, you can't really it's always an additional thing, or it's either an expense that you're spending, and also or a bottleneck that people will try to resist, right? Now, however, the important thing about a platform play is trying to make the case such that if you're doing platform engineering right, the outcome is faster, cheaper, better, right? So you really need to look at by doing this, how is this going to benefit the business, across all of those 3 things, right? Because if you can then sell it, then that's how you get buy-in, and and the thing is, start small, right? Because more often than not, people are not convinced by platform approaches or the investment required. So important thing is start small, iterate, and show progress, and then interesting thing is you have two things, right? If you think about a team, there's this misconception where a team's capacity is fixed. It's not really. So actually, the interesting thing is, if you have a demotivated team, you are actually accomplishing less than what the team can accomplish. If you have a highly motivated team, you may actually be getting 150% of impact or more if people are motivated to accomplish something. So it's that's what you can think within your team. Then outside that, when you are creating things that matter and that can kind of impact developers, they'll also come and join the platform effort when they see the value and when they see it's actually something cool that's happening that they can also come and contribute. So typically, both at WebEx and here, I always advocate for a open collaboration model, both for ideation as well as kind of how do you find capacity and bandwidth from other sources beyond the platform team in order to make the impact bigger. So that's another thing that can be applied.
And this is the I think one of the reasons that Cisco is investing in having you be part of the community, the open source community. Like, for example, the Canoe project that we both are part of, that you are giving in platform engineering is more than code, right? Sharing code is sharing experiences. How do you approach? And a lot of organizations are looking knowledge like you're sharing right now of how do I convince my stakeholders to invest in a team that starts small, that is a force multiplier, right, for different services? Because at the end of the day, is if you invest on people and time, you will make the other services, like I said, cheaper, better, and faster. But also the plus one to that you gave was that team can produce more if they're highly motivated. And like Guy said in one of the comments, hi Guy, said happy engineers are critical for innovation, right? So that's why the practices of rotating, the practices of what we need to focus on, what is the toil that we need to shut down to have developers produce the service faster, cheaper, and better, are kind of the things that and I put the link to the Canoe project in there. I don't know if Guy wants to share it for folks to see it. But those are kind of the experiences of the Canoe project. So a lot of folks ask us if we have code. Well, it's more than code. A lot of people are looking for well, we have been doing DevOps, where it's platform engineering. I think the two comes together. But at the end of the day, it's a group of folks that are focusing on a force multiplier for the organization.
Yeah, 100%. It's more than technology, more than code. It's people driving transformation. You have to also think about it as a journey from A to B, and that journey is different, and you should not for each group, or you need to look at how to get there. And then the other thing is one of the life advices I got was you need to enjoy the journey, right? If you get stressed out about it, this being in DevOps or platform engineering or SRE, it's a highly stressful job, and burnout is very high, and it's quite unless you enjoy the journey and also look at how to kind of improve things fundamentally. It's a very difficult thing to do, because what's happened is all the modern infrastructure has gotten very complex, and by definition, SRE platform engineering teams, we are kind of a bottleneck, with a lot of folks coming with various requirements, and it's very important how we kind of evolve. And it's a good segue to our next topic. This is how I see AI making a play. It's really is a tool essentially to help us become, find that, work-life balance and kind of automate, certain functionalities. And in order for us to get that, time back a bit more than what it has become, because today it's really highly stressful, too much work, a lot going on. So I'm gonna take this an opportunity to introduce a little
So let's
bit
talk about let's introduce one of your solutions that you're looking into. Like, you have a lot of complexity, you have a small team, and you said that the same team can produce more, right? And also at the end of the day, lower the stress because now we have automation. So what's the automation process that you're looking into in your team recently that I think you share with the team?
So we have a lot of general good platform engineering going on. So beyond this, one thing we are trying to do is really look at what's happening in the. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the share working. Can you see the share?
1 second, Uri, can you share it? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I can see now. Okay, so so here what we are trying to do is how we can leverage AI in order to improve various aspects of platform engineering. We didn't really come to this solution in one go. There was a lot of different explorations and angles that was happening, and then what we are essentially trying to do is, so we have this persona called Jarvis. Funny enough, if you remember Iron Man movie one of the inspiration of was, can we, have this other persona helping us deal
Jarvis,
with,
get me a cappuccino, right?
Yeah, exactly. Complexity of modern cloud infrastructure. But the interesting thing is, so there's a couple of elements. So the system we have done, I'll give a quick demo. So it's got multiple front ends. So today we interact through this agent through WebEx and Backstage, which we have recently rolled out as an internal developer portal. And it's got 3 key functionalities. So first one is knowledge bases. So this is making sure that we get access to various information and you are able to query it. So this is better for developers because they get quick access. It's also good for, let's say, platform engineers because, if we are trying to look for something, it might be faster to get hands on the information. And then it helps, training new people coming in, because if you can, training up, there's always a high learning curve. So if you have a system in place where the knowledge is accessible, it's a lot more easier to ramp up, right? So that's the knowledge base aspect. Then,
and this is using internal, not just general purpose like documentation on the internet. This is like knowledge from inside Cisco, like Cisco Confluence, Cisco source control issues, PRs, documentation in different places. I want, like, every organization has multiple wikis and outdated wikis, no outdated pages. So this consolidates to all that information to make it available as a knowledge base.
Yeah, it's using all the internal knowledge and external knowledge as well. So things like Case GPT is external, so Kubernetes knowledge. And then we are also just in the process of introducing a graph. I'll explain in a bit. So that's that aspect. Then the second one is how do we enable various functions so that, it's not just the knowledge, but you can also act on it. So for this, we are really stitching together using LangGraph various self-service APIs and capabilities that are there. So, you can interact with Jira, you can, do GitHub repository creation, development instances. So I need a new Kubernetes namespace and a, CI/CD for my app. those type of self-service capabilities. How do we and the power there is, it's not really you really need these self-service capabilities that you would have anyway built. You can put a LLM on top of it in order to kind of bridge that gap, so that humans can easily interact with those self-service APIs. And then third one, a bit more of a complex one we are playing with, is to try and do Kubernetes config generation using natural language and diagrams. So so there is a little bit of more of a picture showing how the knowledge hub works. So you can use RAG pipelines in order to get various unstructured documentation and whatnot. You could use LangGraph based tool calling if you want to get into who's on call, or just general Kubernetes knowledge or other information. And then putting things on a graph. I'm not like joking. Something that would take, with all the access, something that would take 15 minutes for me to cross-reference and find, you can get it within seconds when you put all the information in a graph. So it's like a game changer in that sense, even when you think about your productivity, right? And this is showing the more of the how you would use LangGraph and then really create different functions, self-service capabilities. How do you expose that? The last one is more of a different experience that we are aiming for. So we are trying to essentially, we have this internal agent who can take prompts and kind of diagrams and generate Kubernetes from scratch. And then, so for example, if you're doing like a sandbox application, our engineers will bike shed various things quickly, so they can interact with even if you didn't have very heavy Kubernetes knowledge, you can now deal with natural language, kind of iterate on a specific Kubernetes sandbox. And then we're actually using Commodore, which is another tool that's giving that visual UI experience. And Commodore also has an agent which it's still, we are going not enabled quite yet, but the idea there is to use that also for various troubleshooting needs. So
yeah, troubleshooting.
So this gives a very seamless. Indeed. So that's the idea. Without too much slides, let me.
And these are things that your team is building with knowledge from open source project, right? A lot of like Python libraries, a lot of services are open source. So it's more, you don't have to have a PhD in machine learning or math to be able to put these things together. Like more of like APIs.
Yeah, a lot of it is open source, and in fact, some of the things we are trying to. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. So a lot of it is open source, and can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you fine. Continue.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna demonstrate this a little bit. So we have this is our internal, our internal developer portal, and you have a virtual assistant who can do various platform related things. So I'm gonna do a couple of things. So I'm gonna first ask, what can you do?
And this is Backstage, right? CNCF Backstage.
Yeah, correct. So it is Backstage. We have our own plugin that's doing the chat assistant, and then behind that we have a kind of set of microservices that are responsible for different things. So things like the Knowledge Hub, there are services. And then LangGraph, there are
so what was the question
there.
that you asked in the chat?
Commodore, it's a you
Commodore.
can put a link to Commodore. Yeah,
Judy knows Commodore.
So essentially, so go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, go ahead and scroll up to see the prompt. I think we're not seeing the prompt at the top.
Yeah.
So you ask what you can do. Just the first one, right?
Yeah. So you can
deploy app using Argo CD, my favorite deployment tool. GitOps.
I like to deploy a new app. So if I ask that, so this is like a more of a self-service functionality. It would know the context, and then it'll it's actually giving me these are the things that you need to do, and this is kind of the information that's required, and it's given kind of you can fill in the details of what it is, and then if you click, it'll actually try to bootstrap things in the back end and try to actually deploy the app. We have, for some things, we have a human in the middle, so if it requires like an approval, that will get a platform person will get pinged, and then they could make a decision. So you still have all your GitOps and other things, right? And then obviously people can give feedback based on if it worked or not. That type of thing.
And that's something that platform teams always sometimes forget, right? Getting feedback from developers, of the users of the platform, right? Is this working or not? And then that could also go back to the agent, right? Of like that response was correct or not correct, and train it back.
Yeah, exactly. Feedback. So it's really important because one, you really need very good feedback loops in order to especially when you need that in platform engineering period, because it's a bad thing to assume you build it, they'll come, right? So if you need to really look at how you can get effective feedback, and then especially if you're doing anything related to AI, there's a lot of the systems are not deterministic. There's a probabilistic nature of a lot of things. So in order to make sure that the tooling work and in order to understand how you can improve things, it's important to have feedback loops. So that's why that's kind of built in. Okay, I'm gonna ask a different question. I'm gonna clear this context. So let's say I want.
And you have some predefined prompts in here, right? Tasks for someone that doesn't know where to start.
Exactly. So you can kind of if if you don't know, because it's just a LLM prompt, it can go and end up in a lot of different systems. So so then that's why you have some predefined. So another possible one to ask is how this is general Kubernetes one. Let's ask something like how do I renew okay, now let's ask something about troubleshooting.
Okay, so it could be for day one or it could be for day two for troubleshooting.
My K8's apps certificate is expired. What can I do?
Very common like thing. Like it's expired in my browser. Like what do I do? Like who do I call? Yeah. Or can I fix it myself?
Indeed. So there is like a very general question. So this would have gone into like kind of a it's giving you some basic guidelines, right? Like and that's important because more often than not, as platform teams, you get like bombarded with a lot of questions, right? So this way, having a system with capabilities to pull in this type of knowledge, it means you can easily cut down some of that support burden, whilst providing a very instant response that could be helpful for the user, right? You're not so it's helping both the teams. It's helping platform engineers because that it cut down the volume of getting bombarded. For application engineers, you get a quick response, and provided the information is accurate and relevant, then you can kind of do interesting things with it. We have some ideas, like, so typically in our collaboration environment, we have this ask space where teams ask us questions. We haven't integrated it yet, but the idea is then if with high confidence, if the system can answer the question, they can take a stab at answering the question, and that help scale things up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and also it saves time for what a lot of organizations are like support teams around the world, right? So maybe the team in the US is during the night, usually that's and somebody asks a question, then they maybe can get a response from the system, right, while the team comes back. And this system also will be something like what are the kind of like practices or best practices around this, of like when somebody wants to deploy something to Sandbox, right? One thing that you said was Sandbox, to not deploy something to production, right? You will put this into a Sandbox, but also like what about like from here going to something like Git, like going through like the official process, or something that is structured versus unstructured, maybe going from an unstructured request, but then going through a pipeline, for example, that you may have a track of like who did what, how you get access to a cloud account and such.
Yeah, so everything is still using all the structure and the platform tooling behind. So for example, just because you asked here, you're still going to get like so for example, if a human is in the middle, it'll go through approvals and GitHub PRs, that type of thing. And then what will happen is you'll get pinged, okay, here, this is the if I ask for a new Git repository, for example, it'll you need to fill in the details. Let me do that right now.
I wanted to point that out because a lot of I've seen a lot of folks trying to use like LLMs or AI to do platform engineering, and they go straight off like coding in the AI or in their program, the actual like connection to create a new EC2 instance or create a new Git repo. And I think your approach is, and I think for people to learn is, make investments to have like good structured pipelines, processes, Jira ticket, and this assistant is the interface to take on structure front ends that could be a CLI or it could be a form, but this is kind of like an advanced way of like collecting the input, right, and going back and forth, like I need this information, I need that information, or you gave me this information, it looks like. And that's kind of like difficult in the old days, I would call it the old days, to create a form where you had to add JavaScript to say, well, if they're from this org, then ask for this. If they're from this project, ask for that. If they're creating an app that just needs a VM, it's different from an app that needs Kubernetes, and becomes just a form with statements. And this is unstructured chatting, right? Conversation that you can actually get the final input, but there's always structured pipelines behind the scene.
Yeah, there's so one having structured pipeline. So like for example, in this case, you can answer the basic things about what's required, like repository name, everything that we are doing is tied to a project, so we have like attribution built in, like ownership, cost, all of these things, right? And it defaults to a specific org, but if you have other orgs, you can kind of specify. We don't have drop downs yet, but there'll be drop down soon. And then you can say, and when you're creating that, it's based off a template. So you have, safe settings, you have all the other guardrails and things that are in place. And in this case, actually, there's a human in the loop as well. So to kind of like say, okay, this is okay. And it get created. So And the other interesting thing is like there's really a improvement in that interface. But what's good is like particularly in the context of Backstage and then like history, you have also personal preferences and context. So like for example, when you log into Backstage, you can know that you know the identity of the person, you know the projects they're associated with. And you could also build up an amount of history in the context of the things they're working on or that type of thing. So when you add that as well, it really can bring in that kind of personal touch, because you can feed that information, which we are not doing yet, but that's something that's interesting as well, right? So you can take preferences into account. You could take more of a natural language
the identity
interface,
of
but
like
then
which region, right? Where they're located,
correct.
the region, the business, or the cost, like all those tracking information. You don't have to give it that again and again in a Jira ticket, right? Now they're like, you're already logged in, so we already can. The AI can guesstimate, right? Give you a preference, like this is the thing that you chose last time, right? Even history.
So I mean, it doesn't need to be like it's okay. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but you can get like close enough for it to be helpful, right? So and that makes it interesting. So yeah, so that's maybe we can go into questions. I'm sure the audience
and
has.
I'll ask a question, like what kind of feedback have you gotten from the end users that when you show them, like your team is innovating, right? They're experimenting of like what are the things that we need to show, like what's the feedback, or can you tell us a story of a feedback that your team didn't think about, or something like, yeah, we didn't realize that we needed to do it in this way because of the feedback?
It's multiple things, right? I mean, now anytime you're driving a change and a transformation, you will get mixed feedback, right? Like for example, when we introduced repository creation, one thing we did was we actually took off the button to create repository, and the reason for doing that was because when you create a repository in the web UI, if somebody had the access to do it, you don't have any of the guardrails and other things. There are elements missing, right? So by funneling through the platform engineering method, you can put all that guardrail. So like we've had some feedback. One was, okay, I had a button, I was able to create this. Why did you take it out, right? Those kind of situations you're going to run into with platform engineering. But then on the flip side, it's also focusing on like making sure that it's actually working. And yes, we are deliberately introducing this change, and then we are attentive about it. What are the issues that are coming up? We are iterating on it, and we are kind of like quickly showing progress, listening to the feedback and experience that people are having. So that's really key in order to be successful. And then the other side of it is when you I think particularly in an incubation organization, right? Platform engineering in general would be like grunt work, and people will be like, oh, it's a high stress situation, and it's really how do you get engineers who are otherwise going to be doing all these cool new things excited about platform, right? The only, I mean, and the way to do that is by making sure that we are doing innovative things in a platform way. So that's kind of another benefit that we are seeing here, because we are taking such innovative approaches. There are quite a few engineers who are interested, and they are contributing in such a way to the platform. Particularly in my current role in the incubator itself. And for example, if we take a very not that pioneering approach here, you would not have got that interest from the developers, right? So it's that another benefit. Hopefully I cover the question.
Yeah, and this system that you show, right, putting together like a line graph and not line graph, and then also creating a graph database and creating this UI. This is your team that are platform engineers building this, right? This is not like machine learning experts or nothing like that, creating or tuning or training. They're just composing APIs of like different tools.
Yeah, like yes, so it's not like, so particularly for the knowledge related things and for the line graph, the bar is like fairly low. It's not like you don't need to be like a ML expert. Now for the thing on the code generation, you do need an amount of ML expertise. So we are doing some interesting things there. So but excluding that, the other things, it's not, obviously you need to, there are things for you to learn, but I think any motivated engineer would be able to learn and pick these things up, and it's a important these are important tools that are getting introduced, and it's important to learn and pick those things up.
Even for troubleshooting, right? I've seen a lot of time is wasted in like something's wrong with my app and I don't know what's going on. Things like Kids GPT and Commodore, right? Like hooking in Backstage that you can see I have 5 apps and one is red. Thank you so much. It's red. Like, what do I do? What do I do next? Right? Being able to click a button, right? And that API call Kids GPT to analyze what's wrong with that namespace at your platform, or call the Commodore API to get like what's the troubleshooting, what's the most common thing that is happening with this thing, why it's not working, right? Or preventing, right? There's a system maybe running on the behind the scenes and telling you that there's a notification, there's something wrong with your app in dev or in staging. Let me see, there's a question in here. That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Let's repeat it for the people listening. Go
for it.
What are the top concerns when integrating third-party AI agents? How did you ensure accuracy?
So, okay, and my other side of the hat is also being CISO for the incubation unit. So and security is absolutely important. The biggest concerns are making sure that you have control over how data is going to be handled, right? So this is important. So this comes up to the how you leverage LLMs or self-hosted models, right? So if you're using something over the top is not a good idea. You need to make sure like you have like the legal contracts and other things in place so that your data is not misused, and understand that flow. So that's number one. Then the other thing is, so for the accuracy, we are moving into a different world here. So meaning everything to do with agents, it is probabilistic. However, you can get very high, even if it's not 100%, you can aim for high 90s in terms of the system being accurate. And the way to do it is to kind of make the scope small for certain questions. So for example, typically we do this reason and act kind of loops, and then especially when you're acting on certain parts, what you do is like you're using a smaller model and contain the problem, how you're prompting it, and like that way you get a much more accurate answer, and then less likely to hallucinate. So that's how you break down the problem and how you solve it is part of it. And then the third part I didn't discuss, where kind of where we have Kubernetes generation going on. We are using multiple techniques, so it's not just LLMs. It's using other machine learning domains like symbolic AI in order to kind of get that accuracy that that's important to the solution. So yeah.
Yeah, I can add that at least I know a few projects like the if you look online for the term guardrails, LLM or AI guardrails, there's Python libraries that handle that, services like the NVIDIA NeMo guardrails, and I work in AWS. In AWS, we have Bedrock guardrails. So those are things that you program into your agent to say when you respond, follow this guardrail, and if it includes sensitive information or information like kind of like implement moderation into like the response of these AIs in terms of like currency accuracy, not accuracy, but like moderation. And then the accuracy is more of like hallucinations, right? Some models would hallucinate and give you like give you something on Kubernetes spec that is not there. But the idea is like augmenting, avoiding that by using RAG. And I think you show in your example that you use in RAG, like in terms of Kubernetes, like using a knowledge base and doing RAG with augmenting, for example, if you're using Kubernetes 1.29, right? You don't want to, you get the source code and the specs and the docs from Kubernetes 129 and do a RAG so you can have like the answers are around 129 and not give you an answer of like an old version or a new version that you're not working with. So that's kind of like my practices I've seen in the field working with this area. But yeah, accuracy is one. But like you said, like privacy of like responding back with a social security number, right? Or identified information is also like looking into those things. But there's plenty of like either open source tool libraries or the same service from the third party that will give you like those guardrails to moderate the answers. What else we have here in questions? You were going to mention something around graphs of like having when you work with this AI LLMs, like for like tips for folks to look into, like when you build a knowledge graph of like even with people, like in Backstage, you have a kind of a Backstage has a relationship database, right? Like this owner becomes this group, and this group becomes to this thing. This owner has these cloud accounts, and the cloud accounts has the VPCs, and the VPC has Kubernetes clusters, and the clusters has like there's other relationship between the networking, compute, and people. So using a graph database become something that people have used, combine graph databases with AI, right? In your
so
solution,
that's
you're using graph databases that not everyone is using.
That's correct. So it's not yet in our production, but that's something we are working on, and we are about to kind of get it out there. So what's interesting there is when you put all the information in a graph, it's like really fast to get answers. So one thing you have, like especially in the context of Backstage, you have context about what you're looking at, where you are, all the information and relationships in Backstage. Along with this, we are feeding a lot of different other information. So something with an administrator with all the access, for certain questions that if somebody asks me something weird like find me all the vulnerabilities or something associated with like these particular types of accounts, or like something very bizarre, like that's gonna take me like cross-referring, looking at different things. You can ask those type of questions like really, really quickly, which is like impressive. Like it's a massive productivity gain when you would have otherwise cross-refer, gone and queried multiple sources, then cross-reference things, and in order to compile a report otherwise. So that type of information, it's really fast to retrieve when you put things behind a graph. So
we look at the different use cases of like finding information, creating resources and troubleshooting and sandboxing, right? To go code gen. Those things are kind of the use cases that we showed today. It's the first time that we're seeing like this breadth of like use cases in terms of using AI and LLM. So I want to thank you, Hasith, for today. I know this is in the US is PTO, but we're still working here. And thank you so much and for joining us today. Where people can reach you out, they can reach you in LinkedIn.
Yeah, people can reach me on LinkedIn, and happy to just generally advise on platform engineering. Very passionate about the topic, so for sure. And
Hasith, you're located in the location where we're going to have our next KubeCon, right?
Yes, I'm based in London, so definitely will be there for KubeCon. So if any of you guys are coming over, do ping. Would be happy to meet.
So join also the CNCF Slack. There's a channel code. I'll put it here. It's Canoe-interest. We'll put more information there about in the CNCF Slack. You can join CNCF slack.cncf.io to join the Slack, and we'll put more information in there about our plans for KubeCon EU, and you can meet Hasith in person. By that time, he will have more cool stuff to share with us in their platform that they're building at Cisco. So I want to thank everyone that was watching live, and if you're watching the recording, reach out in LinkedIn, reach out in Slack, and about platform engineering and the transformation in Cisco. So great episode. Thank you, Hasith, again for joining us.
Thank you, Carlos. Have a good day.
See you, folks.